So somebody asked me recently what artboards in Photoshop were, and essentially there's the same thing that have like artboards that have been in Illustrator for quite a while, and they were recently added to Photoshop. And they said, "Well, why would you use them?" And there's a couple reasons, and I'll show you an example of one. This is a project I'm working on, and essentially artboards are individual pages within one Photoshop document. So these are all in the same Photoshop document, and you'll notice they're different sizes too. So I have portrait and landscape. Some of these are print ads, some of these are web banners and web graphics. But the cool thing is you can do them all in one document and keep everything together. And another example and way you can use them is in this project, and they're actually all the same size, which is cool too. And these are just examples for, say, you were creating Pinterest graphics or Facebook graphics or whatever, and you wanted them all the same size. They're quote images. So like I said, they're essentially pages within a single Photoshop document. And the really cool thing is, when you do it all together like this, it makes it much easier to keep your assets consistent and see what you're doing and keep your branding and whatnot consistent across the board. So one of the things you can do, let's just say you wanted to add another one. I'm going to click on the bottom one, and you'll see a plus sign on three of the different sides. So when you add a new one, it'll add it on whatever side you click on. And you can click and it'll create a blank one if that's what you want. Or if you want to duplicate one, just hold down the Alt key before you click, and then you'll get a duplicate like that. Now, there's a whole lot of other stuff about artboards that I'm not going to go into right now because this is just kind of showing why you would want to use them. I'll get into the details later. But here's something cool you can do. I'm going to put this copy down here, and all I need to do is take out the content in the middle, change the header, and yes, I know these headers are boring, but you get the hint. And you can work on as many as you need. But one thing you'll notice as you look at this graphic going, well, these are all cool and they're consistent and that's great. And you have your branding and whatnot, but it's not 2015 anymore. How do I fix that? Do I want to go into all four of these and change the date? No. I have some documents that have like 20 or more in there, and I'm not going to go in and change it 20 times. That's just silly. So that's where CC Libraries come in. And what I did is this bottom, I created a footer graphic in Illustrator. And you can see it sitting in the library. I gave it the really profound name of Artwork 1. But let me show you how we fixed it. So right now you can see it's 2015. I'm going to jump over to Illustrator. And with my library open, I'm going to double click. I can either right click and edit, or I can just double click to open it. Didn't need to do that twice, don't mind me. So I'm going to take the date, change it to 16 because that's good. Just to make, for the sake of argument, make this easy to see, I'm going to change the colors just so you really do know that it's changed. Oh my goodness, that's painful. I'm going to close it, make sure to save the changes. You'll see that it's immediately updated in the library. And then when I go over to Photoshop, you'll see it's also updated in all four right away. It's also in the library. And that is definitely a much quicker way to go. Like I said, there's only four here, but I still don't want to change it four times. And if you had more, you really don't want to change it. So that's a really cool reason to use CC Libraries. I'm going to go back into Illustrator and fix that because these colors are killing me. Let me jump back over there, double click again to edit, change the color. And the other cool thing about CC Libraries is because I wanted to keep my colors consistent, not have to dig up the formulas and blah, blah, blah. I added colors to my library, so I can just click and make sure my colors are consistent across the libraries, whether I'm in Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, After Effects, wherever I'm at, the colors are going to be the same, which is a really cool thing. Close it, save the changes. You can see the library's updated, back into Photoshop, and the changes are immediate. Now, any document you have open that contains a graphic that you've used from the library will be updated immediately. And if you have documents that aren't open, once you do open them, it'll say that your items are out of sync or this item needs to be updated, and you can right click and update it. If you created a bunch of individual files instead of using artboards, you could also set up an action to run and do this, but definitely going forward, I would suggest that people really take a hard look at artboards because they're really quite helpful. And I'll be sure to put some links in the comments to help learn about artboards. So once you have all your images ready to go, you're going to want to export them. And this is a pretty easy process too. You go to File, Export, Export As, and it's going to bring up all four of your images or however many artboards you have, and they're all individual in here. And the cool thing is, these are all set the same to JPEG right now in the same size. But the cool thing is, if you wanted to, you can go in and change the format that you're going to export it in. You could change the size. You could change whatever you need to for each one. So every one of these, in theory, could be different if you wanted to. But just for the sake of argument, I'll leave them the way they are. And then the next thing is you just need to hit Export All. It's going to ask you where you want to put them. And I picked a folder and I hit Export. And it immediately puts them in there. And what it does is it names the files based on the artboard name. So this is where naming conventions come in and where being consistent and smart. I know a lot of people don't name their layers and they have layer 237, copy 27, and those don't really tell you anything. So I would definitely recommend naming your layers, naming your groups, just being neat and tidy, and it makes a big difference. So now I can go back into the folder in Bridge and you can see, let me make that a little bigger. Here's my original PSD file and here's the output. Here's the four graphics are all JPEGs, bar chart JPEG, diagram copy because I didn't change it. But that's a quick and easy way and it spits them out all at once. So it really cuts down on the amount of work involved, which is pretty cool.